Moses. God uses ordinary people. How God turns ordinary lives into extraordinary stories. Have you ever looked at someone successful and thought, I could never do what they do? Perhaps you felt that you don't have enough education, enough talent, enough confidence, or enough experience to make a difference. Maybe you've made mistakes that still haunt you. Or perhaps you've simply believed that God could use someone else a bit, not you. If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. One of the greatest leaders in the Bible once felt exactly the same. His name was Moses. Today, millions of people remember Moses as the man who led the Israelites out of slavery, received the 10 Commandments, and faithfully followed God's calling. But Moses didn't begin his journey as a fearless leader. In fact, he spent much of his life believing he wasn't qualified. Moses was born during a dangerous time. The ruler of Egypt had ordered that every Hebrew baby boy be killed to protect him. His mother placed him in a small basket and set it among the reeds along the Nile River. By God's providence, Pharaoh's daughter found the child, showed compassion, and raised him in the royal palace from the very beginning. God was watching over Moses. Years later, Moses witnessed the suffering of his own people. In a moment of anger, he made a terrible mistake and was forced to flee into the wilderness. Everything he once knew disappeared. The palace was gone. His position was gone. His future seemed uncertain. For 40 years, Moses lived as a shepherd in a quiet desert. Many people would have believed that his best years were behind him, but God wasn't finished with Moses. One ordinary day, while tending sheep, Moses noticed something extraordinary. A bush was burning, yet it was not consumed by the fire. When Moses came closer, God called his name. It was there, in the middle of the wilderness, that God gave Moses an incredible mission. He was chosen to return to Egypt and lead his people out of slavery. Imagine how overwhelming that must have felt. Moses immediately began listing reasons why he couldn't do it. Who am I to go? What if they don't believe me? I'm not a good speaker. I don't have the ability. These are the same excuses many of us still make today. I'm too old. I'm too young. I've failed too many times. I'm not talented enough. I'm not strong enough. But God wasn't looking for a perfect person. He was looking for a willing heart. Again and again, God reminded Moses that success would not depend on Moses' strength. It would depend on God's presence. God didn't promise that the journey would be easy. There would be opposition. There would be challenges. There would be moments of fear and uncertainty. Yet God gave Moses one simple promise: "We'll be with you." Those words changed everything. With God's guidance, Moses stood before Pharaoh. He witnessed miracles that only God could perform. He watched the Red Sea open before the people Israel. He led a nation through the wilderness. He received God's commandments on Mount Sinai. The man who once doubted himself became one of the greatest leaders in history. Not because he believed in himself, but because he believed in the God who called him. Moses' story reminds us that God often chooses ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary purposes. He chose a shepherd instead of a soldier, a humble servant instead of a famous leader, a man with doubts instead of someone who seemed fearless. Why? Because when God works through ordinary people, his power becomes impossible to ignore. The same truth applies today. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You don't have to have perfect circumstances. You don't have to know every answer before taking the first step. God isn't searching for people with perfect resumes. He is looking for hearts that trust him. Perhaps your calling is to encourage your family. To serve your community. To be an honest employee. To raise children with love and wisdom. To comfort someone who is hurting. To share kindness in a world that desperately needs compassion. Never underestimate what God can do through one faithful person. Small acts of obedience often become the beginning of great blessings. Think about a tiny seed. It doesn't look impressive. It seems small and ordinary, but with time, care, and the right conditions, it grows into a tree that provides shade, shelter, and fruit for many. God works in much the same way. He begins with ordinary people. He shapes them through life's experiences. He strengthens them through challenges, and in His perfect time, He uses them to bless others. Perhaps you've been waiting for God to show you your purpose. Maybe you've been telling yourself that someone else is more qualified. If so, remember Moses. Remember that God doesn't call people because they are already capable. He equips the people He calls. Your past mistakes do not disqualify you. Your weaknesses do not limit God's power. Your fears do not cancel His plans. The God who spoke through a burning bush is still calling ordinary people today. He still strengthens the weak. He still gives courage to the fearful. He still transforms lives that seem ordinary into stories that glorify Him. So don't let fear keep you from taking the next step. Trust God's guidance. Walk in faith. Be faithful in the small things. This timeless truth: God doesn't choose people because they are extraordinary. He makes ordinary people extraordinary when they trust Him and faithfully follow His calling. No matter where you are today, God sees your potential. He knows your heart. He understands your struggles, and He has a purpose for your life that is greater than your fears. Walk forward with confidence. Trust the One who created you, and never forget that the same God who used Moses can also use you to make a difference in the lives of others. Sometimes the greatest miracles begin with one ordinary person who simply says, "Here I am, Lord. Thank you." Please like, subscribe this channel,